Hello students, today let's learn about the reactions of monosaccharides. Chemical reactions of monosaccharides are due to the presence of certain functional groups like glycosidic OH group. What is glycosidic OH group? The anomeric OH group. Mutarotating sugars, they exist either in alpha form or beta form. Okay. So that OH group is called as glycosidic OH group. The OH group is involved in bond formation, glycosidic bond formation. Then not only the glycosidic OH group, monosaccharides are also having alcoholic OH group, both primary and secondary alcoholic OH group. And apart from these two groups, monosaccharides also have carbonyl group. If the monosaccharide is a aldose, it is having aldehyde group. If it is a ketose, then it is having a ketone functional group. So, the chemical reactivity of monosaccharides is chiefly dependent on the presence of such functional groups. Let us discuss one by one. First one, reaction of glycosidic OH group. The glycosidic OH group, the OH group which involves in glycosidic bond formation, right? This glycosidic OH group reacts with alcohol to form alpha and beta glycosides or acetals. Okay, the glycosidic OH group present in monosaccharides, it reacts with alcohol to form alpha or beta glycoside, or otherwise it is called as acetals. So from glucose you will get glucoside, and from fructose you will get fructoside, like that. But the monosaccharide exhibits mutarotation, whereas if the monosaccharide is converted to its corresponding glycoside, the glycoside form do not exhibit mutarotation because carbonyl group which is present in that glycoside is converted to acetal group now. So due to this reason, the glycosides will not exhibit mutarotation, whereas the corresponding monosaccharide form will exhibit mutarotation. Number of glycosides occur naturally. For example, fluorescein, which is present in rose bark, it is a glycoside. Then digitonin from foxglove leaves, amygdalin from bitter almonds, and saponin from soapwort. All these are glycosides and they have some medicinal value. Here is the reaction. Alpha D glucose. We have taken alpha D glucose. When this alpha D glucose is reacted with methyl alcohol, this glycosidic OH, the first OH group, this OH group reacts with this alcohol, that results in the formation of alpha methyl glucoside. Okay, alpha methyl glucoside. Then the next reaction involves both glycosidic and alcoholic OH groups. In the previous reaction, we saw the involvement of glycosidic OH group. Now in this reaction, both the glycosidic as well as alcoholic OH groups are involved. This is an esterification reaction. When a monosaccharide, reacts with acetic anhydride, what happens? Esterification occurs. Esterification takes place. Here we have taken glucose as an example. When glucose is treated with 5 molecules of acetic anhydride. What is acetic anhydride? When 2 molecules of acetic acid join together, one water molecule is removed and thereby we will get acetic anhydride. Okay. When glucose reacts with 5 molecules of acetic anhydride, we will be getting glucose pentaacetate. Since glucose is having 5 OH groups, the 5 OH groups reacts with 5 acetic anhydride that results in the formation of glucose pentaacetate. Not only that, we also get a byproduct of 5 molecules of acetic acid. Okay. So from this reaction, what we infer? Since we get glucose pentaacetate, this gives an inference that glucose is having 5 OH groups. Here's the reaction. So D plus glucose. We have taken glucose. We are treating glucose with acetic anhydride. 2 acetyl groups, 1 O common. That is CH3CO twice O. This is the structure of acetic anhydride. When we treat glucose with acetic anhydride, we get glucose pentaacetate. 5 OH groups present in glucose reacts with acetic anhydride, thereby we are getting glucose pentaacetate. Next reaction, etherification. In this reaction, alcoholic OH group reacts. Okay, so this is a reaction of alcoholic OH group. Here we have taken alpha methyl glucose. So for this reaction, first we have to convert this glycosidic OH group. We have to protect this glycosidic OH group with an alkylating agent. Okay, so instead of glucose, here we have taken alpha methyl glucose, and this alpha methyl glucose is reacted with methyl iodide. Okay, what happens? The remaining four OH groups get methylated. Thereby we are getting tetramethyl ether. Here the structure is COCH3. So this is the ether functional group. Okay, ROR dash format. So this structure is called as tetramethyl ether of alpha methyl glucoside. Okay. Then the next reaction involves both alcoholic OH and carbonyl group. In this category, we are going to see about oxidation with mild oxidants and with strong oxidants. With mild oxidants like hypobromous acid, what happens? Only the aldehyde group alone gets oxidized. Okay. When aldehyde group is oxidized, we will be getting acid group. Okay. CHO group is oxidized to COOH group. When we use mild oxidants like hypobromous acid, the aldehyde group is oxidized to produce monocarboxylic acid. Okay. Whereas ketosis will not respond to this reaction. So this reaction with the mild oxidants, it is used to distinguish aldoses and ketosis. When we take strong oxidants like concentrated nitric acid, here what happens? Both the aldehyde as well as primary alcoholic group are oxidized. Thereby, we are getting dicarboxylic acids. With a mild oxidant, we are getting monocarboxylic acid. When we use strong oxidant, we will be getting dicarboxylic acid. In the case of aldoses, we will get acids with same number of carbon atom, whereas in the case of ketosis, we will get acids, dicarboxylic acids with lesser number of carbon atoms. Here, glucose is treated with concentrated nitric acid. Okay, oxidation takes place. Here, what happened? Both the aldehyde as well as primary alcoholic group got oxidized. Thereby, we got glucaric acid. It is otherwise called as saccharic acid. Aldehyde group is oxidized to COOH group, as well as primary alcoholic group is also converted to COOH group. When you take fructose, it is a ketose, right? When fructose is oxidized with concentrated nitric acid, what happens? We will get a mixture of products. Either you get a trihydroxyglutaric acid, or else you will get a combination of tartaric acid and glycolic acid. Aldoses, when oxidized with strong oxidizing agent, we will get dicarboxylic acids with same number of carbon atoms. Here 6 carbon atoms, here also 6 carbon atoms. In the case of ketoses, we will get dicarboxylic acids with lesser number of carbon atoms than the parent sugar. Then the next reaction involves carbonyl group, oxidation with metal hydroxides. Metal hydroxides, they have the capacity to oxidize the monosaccharides. In turn, the metal hydroxides, they get reduced to lower oxides or to free metal ions. Okay. In this way, CuOH twice is reduced to Cu2O, and in the case of silver hydroxide, bismuth hydroxide, they are reduced to free metal ions. Okay. The reaction with cupric hydroxide is illustrated here. So when you treat monosaccharide with cupric hydroxide, what happens? The sugar gets oxidized. In turn, the cupric hydroxide is reduced. So there will be some changes in the color. Okay, the color gradually changes. The blue color of the initial solution, it finally changes to red color. So this reaction is the basis for Fellings, Benedict's and Boffert's test. Okay. In the case of Fellings test, we use two solutions, solution A and solution B. Solution A contains 7% copper sulfate and solution B contains 25% KOH and 35% sodium potassium tartrate. Before commencing the experiment, we will be mixing these two solutions in equal amounts. So by this method, we will get a clear blue solution. When you treat this clear blue solution, when you add this blue solution of Felling's reagent to a monosaccharide solution, and if you heat the solution for some time, what happens? The copper present in the Felling solution oxidizes the sugar, whereas in turn, cupric hydroxide is reduced to cuprous oxide. Okay. What is the difference between Felling's reagent and Benedict's reagent? Here in the case of Felling's reagent, we are using two solutions, whereas in the case of Benedict's reagent, we have only a single solution which contains copper sulfate, sodium carbonate and sodium citrate. In the case of Felling solution, we used potassium hydroxide. In the place of potassium hydroxide, here we use sodium carbonate. And there in Felling solution, we used sodium potassium tartrate, whereas here in Benedict's reagent, we use sodium citrate. So here there is no need for two separate solutions. So sodium carbonate, it reduces alkalinity so that no need for us to keep two solutions in this case of Benedict's reagent. And in the case of Boffert's test, generally we employ this test to differentiate between monosaccharide and disaccharide. When you treat the sugar solution with the Boffert's reagent, what will happen? You will be getting red color precipitate. Okay, but the reducing disaccharides will also give positive result to this Boffert's test, but it will take a longer time when compared with reducing monosaccharides. Reducing disaccharides will take a longer time to give positive result to this Boffert's test. So in all these methods, the principle behind these methods is oxidation with metal oxides. What are the differences between reducing and non-reducing sugar? Reducing sugar is one which is having a free aldehyde or free ketone group. Whereas in the case of non-reducing sugar, there is no such free carbonyl group. Okay. Instead, the carbonyl group is utilized in bond formation. And here, reducing sugar, they are in hemiacetal or hemiketal form. Whereas in the case of non-reducing sugar, they exist in acetal or ketal form. Here, obviously, reducing sugars exhibit mutarotation, but non-reducing sugars do not exhibit mutarotation, and reducing sugars form ozones with phenylhydrazine. We won't get ozone from non-reducing sugar. When you treat reducing sugars with hydroxylamine, we will be getting oximes. Whereas in the case of non-reducing sugar, you won't get any oximes. And well-known examples for reducing sugars are glucose, fructose, lactose, maltose, LOBIOS are examples for non-reducing sugar, sucrose, glycogen, inulin, etc. Then the second reaction of a carbonyl group is reduction. So here we reduce the sugars with different agents. When glucose is treated with sodium amalgam, first we are reducing the monosaccharide with sodium amalgam. What happens? When aldehyde group is oxidized, we will be getting acid. When the aldehyde group is reduced, we will get alcohol. So when you reduce glucose with sodium amalgam, you will get sorbitol. This is otherwise called as glucitol. What happened here? The aldehyde group is reduced to primary alcoholic group. In the case of ketosis, what will happen? Ketosis are having C double bond O group, right? In that case, the C double bond group will be reduced and it will be giving secondary alcoholic group. Okay. Here, when mannose is reduced to sodium amalgam, we will be getting mannitol, and when fructose, is reduced to sodium amalgam, then what happened? Look at here, we will be getting secondary alcoholic group. The ketone group is reduced to secondary alcoholic group, and when fructose is reduced, we will be getting a mixture of sorbitol and mannitol. Okay. Then reduction with strong mineral acids. When monosaccharides are reduced with strong mineral acids, we will get furfural. Dehydration takes place and we will be getting furfural. When we take glucose as an example, this reduction with strong acids, strong mineral acids, leads to the formation of 5-hydroxymethyl furfural. 5-hydroxymethyl. In the fifth position, hydroxymethyl group is there. So it is called as 5-hydroxymethyl furfural. Okay. Further, upon further heating, this 5-hydroxymethyl furfural is converted to what? Levulinic acid. It is converted to levulinic acid and formic acid. So this reaction is the basis for some color tests like Molish test, Biol's test. So in Molish test, when we treat sugar solution with alcoholic alpha naphthol and sulfuric acid, you will be getting a purple color ring at the junction of two layers, right? And in the case of Biol's test also, when you treat pentosis with Biol's reagent, you will be getting a green colored product. So this furfural formation is the basis of Molish test and Biol's test. And when you take pentosis, upon heating, instead of 5-hydroxymethyl furfural, we will be getting furfural. When you treat hexosis with strong mineral acids, you will be getting 5-hydroxymethyl furfural. Whereas when you take ribose, when you take a pentose, then you will get furfural. Okay. But tetrosis and triosis will not respond to this reaction because for furfural formation, we need 5 carbon atoms. In the case of tetrosis, there will be only 4 carbon atoms. In the case of triosis, there will be only 3 carbon atoms. So, you won't get any response with tetrosis and triosis. Then, reduction with dilute alkalis. Here what happens? When you treat the monosaccharides with the dilute alkali, what happens? Interconversion of glucose, fructose and mannose. The similar interconversion takes place inside our body also. Glucose, fructose and mannose, they interconvert among themselves. The mechanism behind this reaction is enolization. Okay, and this reaction is called as Lowry-de Bruyn Alberta Van Ekenstein rearrangement. Some kind of a rearrangements taking place through this ene-diol form. Through this intermediate ene-diol form, these 3 sugars, they have the capacity to interconvert among themselves, glucose, mannose and fructose. If the mixture is anyhow heated for some more time, what happens? We will be getting a series of enols. Here, a migration of double bonds from oxygen-carbon link to various carbon-to-carbon position occurs. The double bond migrates from carbon-oxygen to carbon-carbon. So, we will get 1,2-ene-diol, 2,3-ene-diol and 3,4-ene-diol. Instead of dilute alkali, if you treat the sugar with concentrated alkali, the sugar will caramelize and you will be getting many decomposition products. Then, next reaction with hydrogen cyanide. This one we already discussed, Kiliani cyanohydrin synthesis. What happens here? When you treat the monosaccharide with the hydrogen cyanide, a new asymmetric center will be produced. You will be getting 2 cyanohydrin, cyanohydrin 1 and cyanohydrin 2. And in the next step, you will be hydrolyzing the cyanohydrins. After hydrolysis, lactonization and finally reduction results in the formation of 2 sugars in which chain length is increased when compared with the parent sugar. If you take triose, you will be getting tetrose. If you take tetrose, you will be getting pentose, and from pentose, you will get hexose. So, in the case of Gliani synthesis, what happens? The carbon chain length is increased. And reaction with alanine. Here, the aldehyde group, it condenses with alanine. Alanine is an amino acid. Since it is an amino acid, it will be having an amino group as well as acid group. And in the R position, in the position of R group, we will be having a methyl group in the case of alanine. Here what happens in this reaction? The aldehyde group of monosaccharide reacts with amino group of alanine. Here our water molecule is removed and thereby we will be getting C double bond N link here. This is called a Schiff's base. Okay, and this reaction occurs during baking of bread. Okay, this reaction is called as Browning reaction. And the next reaction is reaction with phenyl-hydrazine. It is an important reaction. When you perform qualitative analysis of carbohydrate, this will be your confirmatory test, whether it is a glucose, fructose, mannose or maltose or lactose, like that. Okay. So what happens here? Only 2 carbons are involved in this reaction. The first 2 carbons are involved in this reaction and we need 3 molecules of phenylhydrazine for this reaction. What is the structure of phenylhydrazine? C6H5NHNH2 is the structure of phenylhydrazine. What happens? This reaction occurs in 3 steps. In the first step, the aldehyde group of the glucose reacts with phenylhydrazine. Thereby, The water molecule is removed and we will be getting glucose hydrazone. Okay, glucose hydrazone. Then in the second step, what happens? Second molecule of phenylhydrazine reacts with second carbon of glucose. Here, what happens? The C6H5NH group combines with the hydrogen atom of the second carbon, thereby it is converted to aniline and it is removed. And the amino group present in phenylhydrazine combines with hydrogen atom present in the OH group of the second carbon and it is converted to ammonia. So what is left behind? C double bond O. So this is called as aldohydrazone. Aldohydrazone. And what is the third step? Now, third molecule of phenylhydrazine reacts with this aldohydrazone. Here what happens? Again, this reaction is similar to the first reaction. Okay. One water molecule is removed, whereby the resulting product is osazone. If you take glucose initially, you will be getting glucosazone. If you take fructose, you will be getting fructosazone. Okay, like that. If you take mannose, you will be getting mannosazone. If you take lactose, it is lactosazone. So this osazone formation, it is a confirmatory test in the qualitative analysis of carbohydrates to confirm which type of sugar is present in that given solution. And here, the resulting product of this osazone reaction, crystalline structures are formed. The precipitate is yellow in color. When you look these crystals under microscope, in the case of glucose, fructose and mannose, you will be getting needle-shaped crystals. In the case of galactose, you will be getting palm leaf-shaped crystals. In the case of maltose, you will get flower petal-shaped crystals. And for lactose, you will be getting cotton ball-shaped, or otherwise it is called as powder puff-shaped crystals. Next reaction with hydroxylamine. When you treat a reducing sugar with hydroxylamine is NH2OH. Hydroxyl group is there, amine group is there. So it is called as hydroxylamine. When you treat sugar with hydroxylamine, what happens? Again, the aldehyde group reacts with amino group. Water molecule is removed and thereby you are getting aldoxine. Okay. And the next reaction is fermentation. When monosaccharides like glucose, fructose, mannose are treated with yeast, they are readily fermented and the final fermented product will be alcohol. Okay, carbon dioxide will be liberated and we will be getting alcohol. So monosaccharides and fermentation, it yields alcohol. So today we discussed about the reactions of chemical reactions of monosaccharides. The chemical reactivity of the monosaccharides is chiefly based on the presence of different functional groups like glycosidic OH group, or it may be due to alcoholic OH group, or it may be due to carbonyl group. Okay, so that's all for today's class. Let's meet again with another new topic. Thank you.